Dot, 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 dot. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark, and I am pumped for today's show, partly because it's got just a little bit of drama. Today, we're talking about acts of rebellion, heresy of the shoeist kind, the mysterious backstories to several major artworks, and how to be the best kind of heretic. Is there a place and time to be a heretic? Absolutely. We're going to be covering all of that today in the Spark Show on Heretics of Hope. Let's talk about it. Before any of that, we've got other news. We're going to be covering backstories, like I said, of famous artworks. We're going to cover that a little bit. That's interesting. But before anything, you know what we're talking about. Morning cup of gratitude. I did a new thing this morning, partly what I'm grateful for. And I got this from Tony Robbins. He does this. And he wakes up in the morning and he thinks of three things he's absolutely grateful for while he's still in bed. You open your eyes, your alarm goes off. You think of three things you're absolutely grateful for and go deep into that thing until you actually feel gratitude, not the mental assent. Oh, I'm grateful for that. How often do people say that? Oh, I'm grateful for that. But actually enter into this emotion. Do you remember the last time you felt deeply grateful for something? This is a muscle we have to exercise, which is why we do it every day. We do this every day for this reason. But we need to exercise because the things we are grateful for deserve our emotional engagement in a frame of gratitude. So here are the three things I'm grateful for this morning that I woke up and thought about before I even got out of bed. I am super grateful for my marriage with my wife who adventures. I wrote down back when I was writing down my dream partner, and I wrote down a lot of things, and Marissa has been a lot of them. But right now, she's up hiking. I can't wait for her to be home. I know she's having a good time. I know she's having a challenging time this go around. But I'm grateful that I'm with a wife who will get into a car and on a long weekend go for a serious hike. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the ability to write. Every day I do this show, I actually sit and write the show. I either journal or I outline the show, but it is so fulfilling for me to sit down at a keyboard and write. What are you grateful for? What's keeping you pumped today? Last but not least, I'm grateful for having a meaningful business. Yeah, it's just a website company. That's the main thing we do our time with. And I do a little coaching on the side. And then, of course, we have the Patreon growing. I'm grateful for all of those. But when I think about the work of the website company, I don't want to be dismissive of it. I want to be massively grateful that we get to put a face, a digital face on people's web presence around the world. I am deeply grateful for that opportunity, truly and sincerely. What are you grateful for? And I mean, what have you reached down deep and connected with on an emotional level in recent history that you are just absolutely so grateful from? That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear what you're grateful for. Let's talk about other news. Now, before we go there, real quick, do like or subscribe. I really appreciate the love that shows the thing. So please like or subscribe. If you want to get engaged into more conversations, some of them are philosophical, some are highly pragmatic. A lot of our crypto conversations, a lot of our NFT conversations, our money-making conversations on time and mental freedom, we're handling over at the Discord. So you can see that in the comments. Go down there or the description of the show. Go there, check it out, click that. And I'm grateful for that someone in the Discord group pointed out that previous link had expired. So I added a new link so you can see it there. So other news. Art with a story sells better. Let's talk about it. We know the story of the Mona Lisa. We know, I think, the story of the girl with the pearl earring. There was a whole show on that. We might even think we know some of the backstory to Show Me the Monet by Banksy. Artwork like this and many more, we think we can look at and appreciate, or maybe study and try to appreciate. Maybe we can, again, do mental assent that that's a good piece of artwork. But quite often, artwork with a backstory often sells better. Honestly, the backstory of Banksy as a mysterious anonymous character or group of characters, that backstory sells Banksy's. Is the work itself great? I'd say it's good. I'd say I don't know if it's great. I wouldn't be the judge of that. I'd say it's good work and I would have one in my house. I think it's great. But how much of that is because the backstory that Banksy is out of the limelight, even though that person is getting limelight anyway, and it sells better. Well, there's an article that I was reading this morning that actually started telling the backstory of some of these pieces of artwork. And an example would be this. Did you know that Da Vinci never mentioned the Mona Lisa in any of his personal sketches or his notice books or anything? He never mentioned it. In fact, the story goes that even after he painted it and someone had commissioned it to be painted, he actually took it with him to France or something or other and gave it to someone else. And supposedly it was the actual person who sat as Lisa. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it is intriguing that it never ended up in his sketches. So, and that should be challenged, right? Like we should actually look through all the sketches of Da Vinci and ask, did he actually mention this or not? So that's interesting. Another backstory is American Gothic. You know the one with the farmer and his farmer's wife and the house behind him? In American Gothic, that's actually the artist's sister and a dentist, and he hand selected them for a certain feature. Can you guess what it is? Yes, most of you might guess. It's the long face. He really caught the slat farmhouse that felt very long, and he wanted to capture this length. So he hand selected his sister, who had long features, and his dentist, who had long features, to paint American Gothic. So if you want to read some of the interesting backstories or mysteries behind some of these famous pieces of work, let me just put it there. Boom. And you can see a thumbnail right there in the comments. It should come up there in a second. There it is. Yeah, it comes up, talks about the strap on one of the pieces of art, talks about American Gothic. So that, my friends, is a little backstory on some famous pieces of artwork that you didn't know. And in that article, I do encourage you to read the one about Show Me the Monet, because it actually has a quote from Banksy that they posted either on their Instagram or their website about why they did that piece. So that, my friends, is other news. Let's talk about when it's appropriate to be a heretic, and hopefully a heretic of hope. Let's talk about it. So I promised you first and foremost that we're going to talk about heresy of the shoeist kind. And I love brushing up against things that are heretical. I love when I figure out a swear word, I want to say it. When I figure out something's illegal, I want to say it. And maybe you've seen this meme. Let's actually look at it real quick. This is me being a heretic and a rebel just this morning. Oh, yeah. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? For the shoe heads, I've got a really good friend, Sammer, who is a shoe head, and he recommended I buy me a pair of Nikes. And these were a brand new pair of sneakers, pair of Nikes that I got. And he said, but keep them in the box. Don't wear them because you might crease them. And this was my micro active rebellion this morning, creasing my Nike shoe. Listen, so many of our beliefs are preventing us from experiencing the total life experience. Now, I won't go into depth, but if you've been a fan of the show at all, if you've been consistent, I don't know if you're a fan, maybe you're just watching, you know that I believe in the TLE. The TLE is a framework, just a framework. And that framework, thanks for the like this morning, Root. I really appreciate it, man. You see me rebelling by creasing my Nikes. The total life experience is simply feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, feeling a level 7, 8, 9, or 10 in the areas of fitness and health, healthy, happy relationships, work we enjoy, and spirituality. And I believe that when you do feel a level 7 to 10 in all of those areas, you are experiencing what I call the total life experience. But our beliefs that things are the way they are keeping us from doing things. And they keep us from doing things we want, and they keep us doing things the same old way they've always been done. See, humans, by definition, are a self-evolving species. I believe that. We're evolving ourselves very quickly. And one of our greatest traits is adaptability. But our very beliefs get us locked in. It's in one context, it's called the law of hypnotic rhythm. We also like stability. And in creating stability, we create habits and routines, and that creates habits and routines of our thoughts. Good morning, Jessica. Thanks for stopping by to the both of you. Yes, we're going to be covering a little bit, just a little bit, about that post that I pulled down yesterday, which most of you have participated in, which I really appreciate. As it comes to our beliefs and getting locked in, I want you to think about marketing. So obviously, we know that when, in the case of marketing, when our competition zigs, we should zag. We should differentiate. Your product or service isn't better. I know Jessica, it does energy healing and a lot of internal work. But let's say she does it better than her competitors. So what? It's still the same thing. How do you differentiate? To differentiate, and I'd say in Root's case, Root might be watching right now. In Root's case, he does differentiate because the thing he is inventing is so radically different. Different than his competitors anyway. Maybe not different on the planet, maybe different on the planet. But he's also creating a thing. He's actually creating a thing that is different by its own nature. In marketing, you want to zig when your competitors zag. In my case, with Spark Sites, we've got a company that is digital, and all my competitors compete digitally. They lurk on all the groups, they refer themselves, they SEO, but you know what? Very few of them do. Very few of them mail postcards. Guess what we're going to be sending out soon? Just as an experiment to be heretical, at least as it comes to marketing. Most people don't believe they can differentiate. Most people believe that, man, it just doesn't work like that in my industry, Grant. You see, in my industry, we always do X. Do you see how that belief is preventing your action? Can you see how holding a belief prevents you from doing something that might be differentiating? Will you fail when you differentiate? Yeah. Will you fail when you become a heretic? Yeah. Of course. And not just fail, but maybe get hurt. We're going to cover that. I've got the two components of when I think it's good to be a heretic of hope, and we're going to cover that. But as soon as you see someone say it doesn't work like that, that's the moment for you to operate as a heretic of hope. That's not for your moment to assent. You probably need to consider the words. Okay, why don't they do that? Interesting. And this is all I'm looking for in intelligent people. Now, some people say I can't be profitable if I'm heretical, or this is just the way I am. You can. Your very beliefs prevent you from thinking you could be profitable by doing things different. I know mine did for the longest time, not raising my prices. I could not be profitable. It was heresy to me to think that raising my prices, we could actually continue to stay in business and get new business and stay profitable. But we did, and we didn't die, and we got more clients, and that's okay. I was a heretic of my own beliefs in that circumstance, and therefore I had the payoff. Does it always work out that way? No, of course not. This is just the way I am. It may be the way you are currently. It may be the way you're accustomed to being. But what if you wanted to lose weight? What if you wanted to change careers? What if you wanted to build a new organization? You may have to change who you are. I knew a guy who was an introvert by birth, a total introvert, was literally a wallflower. Brilliant. The person went to the London School of Economics, got a PhD in economics, a brilliant person, but a wallflower, and wanted to win more with the ladies. He wanted to have more of the benefits that extroverts have. And it was a very difficult thing. It was heresy to his temperament to step out in the middle of the room and dance. His cousin, a friend of mine, said, hey, listen, if you really want to do this, then I require you to do exactly what I do at the club tonight. They went out to a bar, and they had the person model him. Modeling is basically mimicking, following and doing everything I do. Just do it a few minutes after I do so we don't look crazy. But if I go out into the dance floor and dance, I want you to go out to the dance floor and dance. If I take a lady by the hand that I don't know and lead her to the dance floor, I want you to do the same thing. And slowly over the time, this person committed heresy to their very DNA. But they had the rewards of doing it. It was a painful process. It was an embarrassing process. But they did it. Oftentimes, also, what's going on is that though our beliefs are preventing us from living our TLE, our beliefs are also being wielded against us. Quite often, our religious beliefs, our faith beliefs are being wielded against us. Can you see this? January 6th, does that strike a memory? We incite riots in the streets of Portland against capitalism, or strangely, we riot in the Capitol to defend Americanism, which capital is the symbol of Americanism. So we deface the symbol of the thing we're trying to lift up. And we're defending capitalism or Americanism with a capital Q. And we have beliefs, but it has become an art and a science to wield our beliefs against us, to cause us to take actions we might not have otherwise taken. Now you think, well, maybe I need to stand up. Wait, hold on. Root jumps in and says this: embarrassing moments are embarrassing for us, but people forget. This is so true. People don't care that much about your failures. They might see them, they might cringe, they might be embarrassed for you, they might make fun of you. But give it 48 hours. They don't even remember. And if you can recover with grace, if you can stand up and hold your head up tall and be like, yeah, man, I totally fumbled that, everyone will let it slide. They call this, I think there's not that many people watching, so I can swear this early in the morning. It's called being unfuckwithable. And I think Root knows this term as well. People can't mess with you, they can't F with you. But we do have these beliefs that are being wielded against us. And we should hold these beliefs. We should hold on to a lot of what we call Americanism. We should hold on to what we call equal opportunity, as is the motive for the people that either riot in the streets of Portland or riot in DC. When we take violent acts that we wouldn't normally have taken, we have crossed the line of having our beliefs of something good. Equal opportunity, Americanism, free and open elections. These are good things in and of themselves, but someone twisted that. So in a world where we don't want to stick our neck out, it's okay to be a heretic, but we got to be careful because people are absolutely trying to wield these things against us. I was asked yesterday to curb one of my posts and to pull it down. Now, out of respect for the person who requested, I actually did. Now, some might call that censorship. Could be. Others might call that wisdom. Hey, I want you to use wisdom here. Maybe. The line is super thin between censorship and holding back because of wisdom. And I want you to pay attention very closely to that line in your world. But remember, we're building up to not just being a heretic, not just speaking out, because that could lead us. If we were just heretics, we might think, hey, I'm a heretic, so they can easily manipulate me to show up in DC and revolt there, or to show up in Portland and to riot there. We're not talking about general heretics. We're talking about something more nuanced, something kinder, something better. The line between censorship and pulling back because of wisdom is very thin. Usually, when teetering between the two, should I not say this thing? Should I not say it or say it? I usually end up on the side of saying it as long as I do what I'm about to communicate, the two elements of a heretic of hope. We're going to cover that. Recently Dave Chappelle was quoted. He's under a lot of fire right now for his seemingly transphobic statements. If you actually watch the show, it may or may not. You can interpret it different ways. But he was quoted as saying this, and I really appreciate that. It is comedians' obligations to say things irreverently. That's literally what you pay me to do. And if I do this and you freak out, maybe you shouldn't have put your money there. Similarly, I think it's thinking people's jobs to take the thoughts of yesteryear, notice their cracks and flaws, and wabi-sabi them with gold to make the thing even better. Do you know wabi-sabi? Wabi-sabi is the art of taking a cracked piece of ceramic, taking the broken pieces, mixing a gold ceramic bond, and then fixing that thing with golden ceramic bond, making it more valuable than it previously was. You give it further identity and new meaning, and it's a new thing. You might have had this family heirloom for generations of a piece of china, but once it became cracked and once you bonded it with wabi-sabi gold, it's a beautiful Japanese art, and I really recommend you check it out. Also checking out the philosophy of wabi-sabi. But here's the funny thing about wabi-sabi. And here's the parallel of wabi-sabi with respect to heresy. The funny thing about wabi-sabi is that once something has been wabi-sabi, it's beautiful. It's got this gold on it. But then it is often placed in a location where it can be seen, but not used. Most people recognize that we value this thing. I took the time and care to piece this thing back together, but this thing has had its day. Pragmatically, who wants to drink the toxins of a gold bond in a tea mug, right? Sometimes if it's done right, you can still use that thing. But most times it ends up becoming an heirloom to the past. We pay homage to the past. We put that thing up on a shelf, pay homage to it, notice it, respect it. But then we often go out and find a new piece of china. This is what happens with wabi sabi, and this is what should happen with your beliefs. We should heretically address our beliefs. And I don't just mean beliefs about God. I mean regular beliefs. Beliefs that society should be this way. Beliefs that, hey, maybe our voting system could be better. Beliefs that maybe my career isn't fulfilling to me. We should be willing to take a thing, notice its cracks, bond it together with gold, place it on a shelf, respect and pay homage to the past, but welcome a new thing into our home. Good morning. Who did I see just pop in here? I just saw Carrie Elizabeth. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. We're talking about being heretics today, so thanks for stopping by. So the metaphor of the wabi-sabi piece of china, I want that to stay in your mind. Because when we talk about being heretics of hope, that is what we are talking about being. Most people want to tear down the ideas of yesteryear. Most people want to absolutely deconstruct. Oh, I love greetings from kind people. Boom. Good morning to you. How you doing, man? So good to be here, she says. Boom. I love it. I love good vibes, man. I love good vibes on a Monday. So when it comes to being a heretic, when it comes to wielding wabi-sabi of the mind, we need to be very open to taking our own thoughts, noticing the cracks and fractures, and unabashedly sharing them. I believe in a new paradigm, a new religion, if you will, a new belief system that maybe layers on top of your current belief system. Maybe it's an added ritual you do. And that added ritual is this. You look at your belief systems, whether it's faith in God, whether it's faith in your job, whether it's faith in Americanism. I want you to have a moment or a way or a ritual that you look at the cracks of that thing, that you take that thing and inspect it, and you go, oh man, this is leaking. It's probably not good anymore. Let me pay homage to the past. Let me seal it with gold. Let me now place it in a place of honor. And now let me bring something new into the home. So here is how to be a heretic. I've just got two components on how to be a heretic as I see it in order to see the growth and abundance you want to see in your life without throwing away, disrespecting, or trashing the things of the past. Let's talk about it. So if we're talking about being a heretic of hope, it's got two components, but the first component, this isn't a wheel that you can start anywhere on. You see, too many people who consider themselves heretics do several things really badly. Number one, they get absolutely angry and bitter at the past. They want to tear things down. Number two, they often incite violence. They often get overly aggressive. We're not going to start with that. Heretics of hope do this. We start with hope. 3 parts of hope. Number one, hope for good. Most of us actually desire good, but we're often also poor judges of what is good. I actually believe most people that rioted in Washington, D.C., or most people that protested and rioted in Portland, 2 people from the opposites of the political spectrum, I believe both of them thought they were doing good. But quite often, we are poor judges of good. If we're doing more harm than good, that's an obvious sign, right? But as a general rule of thumb, if it hurts others in any way, chances are it's not falling on the good side of the spectrum. And yes, I hear the quotes from the Second Amendmenters, but also the leftists who are for definitely extreme. Grant, yeah, sometimes violence is necessary, many will say. I have heard the quote, and I do stand by, you cannot be peaceful if you are not capable of violence. I fully believe that. But being capable of violence and wielding violence in inopportune times, and when you're not actually physically defending yourself, but when you are taking your beliefs and imposing them on somebody else and you think it's good, you think you're doing the right thing, evidence that we are really poor judges of good, but I also at the same time hold the belief that we're trying to be good. Most people who approach heresy are just bitter. They're angry. The first part of hope is I believe we should be hoping for good, and I think we should internalize, and our rubric should be, is this thing good? Here's my rule of thumb. Is it hurting people? Is it hurting people? There's Laura Gardner. Hey, I saw that Laura Gardner hit her lid a day or so ago. You posted it on Facebook. I saw it. I'm glad you're feeling good in it. You're up this morning. We're talking about heretics of hope this morning. And right now we're talking about hope. And the first component of hope is hoping for good. A lot of people think they're hoping for good, but they're really not. So the first part is hoping for good. We covered that. The second part is this, and I want this part. If you ignore everything from today's show, I want this part to land deeply. I challenge you to hope in your heart, not the mental assent of hope. If you talk to someone and you say, hey, what kind of day is it going to be? Well, I hope it's going to be a good day. But they made a mental assent that there's a concept called hope and it's over there. And they nod to it. It's like a mental nod. I hope today's going to be a good day. But anything they say after the but is what they believe. They don't hope in their heart. They hope as a mental assent. Listen, quit fooling yourself. I hope, but you need to make this word sacred again. Hope. You need to make the word hope sacred again. And you are now, I give you permission to say, I'm not hopeful. You cannot be hopeful. I'd rather you say, I'm not hopeful, than to say, I hope so, but stop dropping the but right after because you believe everything after the but. When you say things like this, it's merely a mental assent, it's merely a mental nod, and you're diffusing the word hope. Hear me on this. If you truly hoped, you would sincerely be optimistic. Think about that. If I deeply in my heart hoped that something could be good, I would deeply in my heart be optimistic that it could be. Now, my dad used to say this, and I stand by this. Hope for the worst. Or hope for the best. Sorry. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. That doesn't mean you're like, I hope, but I'm going to put my guns on. It's, I hope so. Well, let's still prepare. Let's still arm ourselves. But deep in my heart, I'm optimistic that this is going to turn out. Spend time doing a heart check. Do you hope today's going to be a good day? Do you truly hope, optimistically hope? No, I hope deep down that my business is going to thrive today. I hope I get to talk to new clients today. I hope I get to talk to my wife today. What do you hope for? Hope, true hope felt in the heart is actually synonymous with optimism. Hope in your heart. That's the second part of hope. The third part of hope is this. Hope doesn't ignore reality. Optimism doesn't ignore reality. If we're going to be heretics of hope, we need to hope for good. We need to hope truly, hope that things are going to be better. But we also need to not ignore reality. But get this. If you are hoping that things are better, by definition, you have already acknowledged reality. So don't let people creep in and say, you're not acknowledging reality. Shut those voices out of your life. You're not acknowledging reality. No, I hope for something better. That means I have put my toe on reality and skipped ahead to the hopefulness. This could be better and I could make it better. I'm hoping, therefore I've acknowledged it's not the best it could be. I've lived long enough in this reality moment. Why are you muddling in the pit of the reality and refusing to hope? So I give you permission to be a heretic if first and foremost, you hope for good, that things could truly be good, but you acknowledge we're not the best judges. So therefore, you then hope in your heart. You truly deep down, dig deep to say, what is hopeful and kind and optimistic? And then third, you don't ignore reality. You welcome reality, but not the reality pessimists bring you, not the reality that negativists and hopeless people bring you. You are a light of hope in a dark place. And if at that moment you have hope, I now give you permission to be a heretic, and here's how. So again, how to be a heretic of hope. You got to get the hope part right. Then we're going to jump real quick to being a heretic. 3 parts of being a heretic. Number 1, heresy is for you. Too often, people that are trying to be seen as edgy, they bring up these thoughts, and I get accused of this all the time. They're trying to be edgy. So they bring up questionable thoughts or they bring up questionable things, and people sit back and go, oh, he's just trying to be edgy. But in their mind, people trying to be edgy in their mind, they're actually haven't challenged their own beliefs. Being heretical is first and foremost for you. Heresy is for you to challenge your own beliefs. Remember, we have so many limiting beliefs, and I'm not just talking about God, folks. Again, if you're just now tuning into the show, I'm talking about careers. I'm talking about the way society should be. I'm talking about your morning routine, your fitness and health routine. There's so many beliefs that we have long before we even get to the deep stuff like God. Heresy is first and foremost for you. Don't just wear it as a badge that I can go out and be edgy and challenge people and not actually challenge my own beliefs. When I get heretical, it's because literally I could show you my book stack and I am challenging my beliefs all the time. And here's why I think heresy is for you. I don't want you to browbeat other people. Negative heretics, pessimistic heretics, those people browbeat other people. They believe the world's going to pot. They believe that we'll barely get out of this by the skin of our teeth. And they want other people to feel it. In fact, if other people do not feel this, they don't get it. Have you been around those people? Listen, you just don't understand. You don't understand. These people are by nature heretical in some ways. In some ways, they're actually just like everybody else. But in some ways, they're heretical, but they're also pessimistic. Don't make others question their beliefs while you rest safely in your own. Don't make others question their beliefs if you rest safely in your own. Hear me on that. Say that one more time to yourself. Don't make others question their beliefs while you rest safely in your own. You have got to be living at the edge of your own beliefs. And let me tell you something, that will be a testament enough to the people around you that you don't have to browbeat them. They'll ask you, hey, what are some of your thoughts? And Carrie jumps in, boom, boom. I love that. Does that speak to you? Does that grab you? It spoke to me when I wrote it. I was like, oh, dang. Again, I'm not sharing with you stuff just to pump you up. I'm sharing with you stuff that I sit down in my quiet time and pump myself up and go, dang, I need to challenge myself that I don't need to make others question their beliefs while I rest safely in my own. Here's the second part of heresy. Number 2, heresy is for you to challenge your most firmly held beliefs. That which is true can endure scrutiny. Now, again, a lot of you might think, oh, here we go. Carrie says, boom, I completely agree and think the same. Boom, I feel you. I think there's so many people who are craving to get to the edge of their own belief systems, but we're always browbeat when we step out with our thinking. Hear me on this. Number 2, heresy is for you to challenge your most deeply held beliefs. Now, some of you might think I'm talking about God, but if you and I were sit down over crumpets and tea, I guarantee we would figure out that God is not your most firmly held beliefs. I'm just here to say it. Carrie says, real belief comes from questioning to the start. That's right. In fact, you didn't come to your current firmly held beliefs without questioning previous beliefs. Everything in life. Truth can endure scrutiny. If there is something that, if you believe in absolute truth, some empirical truth, it can hold up to your scrutiny. It's held up to your scrutiny for millennia, thousands and millions of years. That which is empirically true is true far beyond you. So if you show up and question God, the deeper things, but I challenge you, I don't think God is your most deeply held belief. You'd like to think it was. Again, mental assent. Yeah, God's the most important thing. And you might even write a post, God, family, country, or whatever. But if we were to actually challenge your day in and day out of awareness and attention, how you guide yourself, your moral compass, chances are you probably have more of a societal belief. We could talk about that and unpack that. But again, we're talking about heresy. Heresy is for you first and foremost, not for you to challenge others necessarily while you rest safely in your own beliefs. Number 2, heresy is for you to challenge your most firmly held beliefs. In fact, God is my most firmly held belief. That is a belief, and I challenge you at that. I know, in all honesty, I hold a belief in God, but it is not my most firmly held beliefs. Not yet. I have other things to challenge first, is what I'm saying. There are other things that we can challenge long before we challenge the big topics like where did we come from in God. We have other things to challenge. But here's the third thing you need to know being a heretic of hope. The third thing you need to know being a heretic of hope. Heresy will hurt, and it'll hurt you first. People will throw stones. Those encouraging you to challenge society's trajectory will be the very ones who ask you to pull back. Those who love you will try to protect you. Those who love their firmly held beliefs will try to crucify you. Both result in the same thing, a degree of rejection. And that's okay. It's okay if you're a heretic of hope, if your heart is full of hopefulness, if your heart is full of strength, if your heart is full of belief that things can be better, I give you permission to be a heretic just the same. Does that resonate with you? Are there things that you should challenge in your own life? For your most closely held beliefs, for those closest to you, are there things that you should challenge and be a firmly held heretic? I think so. If you want to learn more about that post, DM me. I can add you to that post. It's still out there. I didn't delete it. I just set it to private for those who are still interested in engaging in an abundant-minded way to deal with that conversation. But here's my net summary. And I'll let you go this morning. A heretic of hope is one who hopes for things to be better without despising or being bitter at the current circumstances. Catch me one more time. A heretic of hope is one who hopes for things to be better without despising or being bitter at the current circumstances. That's my net summary today. You can go out and be a heretic of hope today. And listen, if you want to carry on these conversations, you know that we have a free Discord. That's where all these conversations, we moved from the Goals and Gratitude group and we're spending way more time in the Discord group. The link should be in the comments. If not, DM me, I'll send you the link. And if you want like access to all of my other stuff, like my crypto tools, my trading, my small business tools, you can get some of that in the Discord group. Go over there and ask, get involved in that conversation. Some of it I do hold back for the patrons who are involved on the Patreon account. So go become a member there. It's only $9 a month and you get access to every tool we use for our business, every tool me and Marissa use for our empire building, and all these conversations that I'm having from spiritual to practical. Experiments in time freedom, experiments in mental freedom. You can get it starting in the Discord, but you can jump over to the Patreon as well. Check the comments. It's not there. Let's see. Did it get stripped out of the comments? Boom. Here we go. I don't know if you can see it in the original post here, Carrie, but let's do that. There you go. I posted it right in the comments right there. Check that out. Join us over there for the conversation. But guys, listen, go out, be your own disruptor today. Disrupt your own beliefs today. Get aggressive and becoming better. But no matter what you do today, remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Thank you, Carrie, for having a great day.